Greetings and happy Friday, metalheads. Today, I have something special for you. If you're of a certain age, or I suppose it's been running for 20 years, and so you remember MTV's Cribs, where you look inside the houses of your very favorite famous folks. And you realize that they're just like you. They like to use the Foreman grill to make frozen fish sticks. They have a bathroom, possibly a hot tub in the living room, and have way too many cars that they've borrowed from their friends and are claiming to be theirs. So we'll do something very similar, but instead of your favorite musician, it's our friend, Marky Jackson, who will be joining us and walking us through his Homelab and the buildup that he's made. Let's see if I can add the Marky door here. And Marky, are you there?
Oh, hey, everybody. I didn't expect you to be here, even though I tweeted it out, let everyone, including my in-laws, know. Thank you for coming to my home lab. Awesome to be here. Thank you very much. I'm going to screw this up, so everybody just be ready.
Oh no, there's I'm excited. There's so many cameras. They're like, I think you have a phone camera that, well, I suppose to start off, what are we what do you have for us today? What are we going to be looking at?
So for those that have followed me for a while, I always used to tweet something and I give it a hashtag from where I work. I like to show the various things because I take pride in where I work, especially being remote and during the pandemic. Having a sense of pride in where you work and is a big deal. And some of the photos that you may have seen coming through on the Twitter feed is some of my original home offices, which I repurposed a shoe rack and to do some really things like that. We never ate at our dining room table much once I did this, much to my family's dismay. This is where I was the majority of my time. And especially during the early parts of the pandemic, there was a lot of people within various open source communities, but mostly the cloud native community that would come together and get on Zooms, and we would stay on there for long periods of time and laugh. And it gave us that sense of closeness. And I thought I had to have a nice desk to do that. And as you can see, this is what I had. I repurposed a lot of books. I think I've got a Java book, a kernel developer book. And so I as I sort of transitioned from the Bay Area down to San Diego, I was like, I really want to make my home office something neat. Well, I made it neat, but it's hecka messy. And, I wanted to show everybody kind of what I had and sort of hope that it spurs conversation and people are talking about, well, this is where I work, and it gives ideas and it becomes sort of this little hobby thing, because that's what it was for me.
Yeah, I saw that's one of the reasons I was like, gotta talk to Marky. Saw the glow up. I mean, first there was the buckets of hardware coming in, and then also it looked like more and more pieces like getting assembled and finally sort of taking that shape. I suppose on the Cribs version there was always the overlay. I think I've probably got something similar to that here with where it tells you on the tells you how many bathrooms there are, how many square feet, and in this case I think it's maybe 6 keyboards and 7 different CPUs and probably 100 feet of Cat 6.
There is a lot going on here. It was funny. Somebody from the in Twitter said, "Hey, have you ever heard of a KVM?" I was like, "Yes, I've heard of a KVM. I get it. A lot of keyboards." And I'm going to explain sort of why I have all of the keyboards and some of the pain it went through putting all of this together, just so I could really have a Tinkerbell lab. And that's really what this was about, was for me to be able to do development as one of the maintainers on the Tinkerbell project and actually have a lab to sort of reproduce these things that I wanted to do. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with the sort of like what everything is, and then I'll go a little bit more in depth. Some people have asked, I'm going to go to a forward camera that I have here and see if this actually works out the right way. So you can see sort of that's it. This is sort of the front view of my desk, and I'm going to take a step back so you can sort of really see how crazy this desk is. And I'm going to close my laundry room door because that's where I came from. My workstations that I'm using, I have a 16-inch MacBook Pro. I am also using a Pinebook Pro, which is part of the Pine 64. I have a mic. Everybody has mics. I have lighting. Ironically enough, I'm using lighting. I am still repurposing things. So my son Noah is in band, and he had a stand that he wasn't going to be using. And I was like, I can use that to write stuff on. So I'll go a little bit more. I have a split Kinesis keyboard. I do a lot of work lately working on the Pine project. So I have a Pine phone. I'm also getting the Pine watch because I thought that would be cool as I try to decouple myself from the Apple ecosystem. I'll start in the Raspberry Pi section, which is aisle 12. I have a Pi 400. This is actually really cool. It's a Raspberry Pi, but it's wrapped up in a keyboard. There is the mouse. Please do not look at the wiring mess. I will explain that I actually was doing wiring in these. And these are really, really nice. They're little zip ties, and you can run the wires through there. Those are really nice until you have to recable something. And you have to pull all these zip things again. I wasn't going to do that again. So I just said, I'm going to leave the rat's nest here. I have a 3rd Gen Pi, and I have a 8 gig. There's an 8 gig Pi there. It's in a box. These are running off the KVM. They run into this little 7-inch monitor right here. And you may say, how can you see that? It actually works out pretty well. I'll take a step back and I'll move over into the NUC section. I have 2 Intel NUCs. Those are also running on KVM. Now these run into the monitor. The monitor itself is KVM, and that's why I have so many keyboards. Because the pass-through on this Philips 346B will not let me use the KVM in there. So that's why I have all of the keyboards, because the monitor would not allow the KVM. So I was like, okay, I'll buy one of those nice expensive KVMs and have my company pay for it, which, well, we won't get into that. But anyway, I found that the DisplayPort would not run with any of these. So I was yet again stuck. So I actually found these really cheap 2-port KVMs, and that's kind of what runs that. What I also am able to do is through HDMI, I am running picture-in-picture. So
okay.
these are the actual NUCs that are in there. And I think I may have frozen there. Let's see. I may have frozen. No.
Okay, yeah. You can bounce it and wait for it to come back.
Yep, there. I think it's coming back slowly. But and then I set up the cameras. One of the cool things that I have with the cameras, and I don't see the video feed. Oh, there we go. Is I'm running another iPhone here. This is using a piece of software. Thank you for showing me this, Jeremy. Called Camo. Camo actually runs through, and I will show you kind of what Camo looks like. Oh, nope. See, that's why I can't have nice things. There you can see. Camo is actually software that will allow me to stream from my phone. This also works with Zoom. You'll also see I've done a cool little Easter egg stickers there. So if you see the stickers there, those are some friends of mine, family of mine. Actually, I'm very, very happy to call open source community my family. And let's see if I'm able to move back to the front cam. We're totally winging this too, by the way. So we're back.
This one?
There we go. Nope, the other one, the phone one.
Oh, in that case, I think I think that you'll have to flip in the restream settings on the phone itself.
Can you still? Are you able to see it?
Yeah, I see the. I see the. Yep.
Okay. So over here, I have a fan because you've got to imagine with all of these lights, it gets very hot here. And I put some of my awards up for those that don't know. I'll try to see if I can zoom in on that one. I served in Iraq and Afghanistan. I received commendation from General Raymond Ordinero. Very, very proud of that. I am also a CCIE emeritus. So this is the 10-year. When you be a CCIE for 10 years, you get a nice little plaque and a watch. And I don't use the watch. And then for any of those that know, I'm a huge San Francisco Giants fan. One of my favorite players who's now retired is Hunter Pence. And I was super happy to have that. I keep a lot of things that friends will send to me. So here is Maine. Thank you, Chris. You see a whole bunch of the stickers. And these are various stickers that I've gotten from conferences. And they really mean a lot to me. And I've moved so fast, I didn't think I'd go that fast. What else? And then my hats. You always got to have a hat. I always have hats. I'd show you my house, but that's kind of boring. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, I will say software. I am running through OBS. So this streams into OBS. There is a setting in OBS, and I'm an OBS noob. I don't know it very well, but I've been learning a lot about it. OBS has a virtual stream that you're able to use that puts all of your inputs into one, and you can stream that into Zoom. So sometimes I forget that I have a setting on, and it's on Zoom. And for my cams, I have a Logitech 4K cam. That's what you're seeing me on currently. This is a iPhone 8, and another one of my cams is a Canon DSLR. Trying to think.
All the cameras. Well, not a question, but hello, Chris, and thanks for the photo.
Chris, you saw that Chris sent me the actual main postcard, and I love that. I keep that up there. I will be visiting Chris, so we can do mountain men. I have no idea what mountain men do, so I'm going to find out. I will say the software that I run on my system. So for development, I actually, my Nooks as well as my Raspberry Pis, these are all a Kubernetes cluster. So I develop on Kubernetes as well as Tinkerbell on Kubernetes. There is a way I can do local development, which I have open source repo with the help of the awesome Jason Taveras. It was actually his work. I took it a little bit more to get it right for my local development. And that is open source, and I believe it's Tinkerbell dev environment. If you go to Marky Jackson -Talia, which is my GitHub profile, and you'll see that there. Definitely feel free. And if you find problems with it, please do open an issue. Don't say I suck.
I will. Yeah, we'll get into a bit of like how you have Tinkerbell working in a moment. But like, yeah, love the sticker, love the shirt, love having you represent the project. But yeah, there's a few questions. Well, I suppose some love from.
I'm going to set this front up. Oh, Jacob, another Tinkerbell maintainer. I'm going to shut this camera down.
Yeah. Initially, some love, but also a question of the workings. What does the network look like? So you have to have. I assume there's different VLANs for provisioning. So the family watching Netflix or playing Xbox or whatever your console of choice or Switch or whatever else aren't also getting a new OS written to their device every time you power up the PlayStation.
Yeah, so I use a ubiquitous network. That's for my Wi-Fi. I have pods that actually sit throughout the house. The pods are where I set my VLANs at. So, for example, if my kids are doing their streaming, they have a room one is on the other side of this wall, and that is for them. My daughter has her room downstairs. She has her own pod, which is another VLAN. And then there's like the entertainment system in the house that is set on another VLAN. Finally, my home network, which sits on another part of a VLAN, is upstairs. There is no Cat5. It is all wireless. I do a lot of QoS in my house, and of course, I am the gold standard of QoS. Everybody else is much less.
And so, does the family appreciate having Dad know what's up and what's going on with the network? And so the quality is good, but are there any restrictions on screen time or the time when the network maybe goes dead for bedtime?
Yeah, so I I tried to do this once. I was like, okay, I'm going to be like that responsible dad, and I'm going to say no screen time, and you got to be done. And I did that, and I wound up screwing everything up in the network. And then people were really upset when they couldn't do anything. And I was like, yeah, we'll just get rid of that. Yep, let me just get rid of that setting. And so no, I do might chat with their friends, and I'd never want to take that away, especially in the pandemic. It's already restrictions everywhere. I don't want to take that away from them.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Trust me.
A quick hello to both Tom and Mark, who are watching. Hello to I suppose that'd be Tulsa and London. So got folks from everywhere at this point.
It's a worldly show, I'm telling you.
So what are you controlling the nooks and the Pi with, if that's if you're running Tinkerbell there?
So I actually run, one of the nooks is my control plane. So everything as far as Kubernetes runs through there. The Raspberry Pi, which now has ARM, Tinkerbell now has ARM64 support, that runs on a Raspberry Pi 4, 8 gigs. And then I control most of everything, like how I orchestrate things with Kubernetes, that's done on the Pi 400. And then oftentimes when I want to run tests, I will run tests from my Mac, and then I can just SSH into those various places. I was going to show that, but as you can see, trying to get all of this set up was a lot. Trying to now get the SSH connections working was, as Willow with OBS, I was like, okay, I'm a little out of my comfort zone there.
Yeah, we can certainly both look in the future, add bits of those repos to the show notes for our friends from the future who watch this later, or answer any other particular questions. But yeah, I'm enjoying the Friday casual conversation. Yeah, just as much as a demo, because yeah, staring into the console is sometimes a lot late in the week.
Are you able to show my OBS view?
Absolutely. This one?
Yeah. So there you can see.
Swappy swap. There we are.
It should come up in a second. And for me, I may be killing my own stream. One of the things that I will be doing in the future is, as we continue to evolve Tinkerbell as a project, I want to definitely show how we can put bare metal on Kubernetes. And I've kind of been toying with this idea of creating sort of a public cluster and allowing access to it so people can actually play and sort of understand things without having to make the huge monetary investment as well as the time investment to doing all of this. But that's sort of my future goal. I also saw somebody do something really cool where they had lights that they allowed to be controlled on the internet by people, so they could log into a website. So I've kind of decided, like, oh, that would be really cool to do. And so there are some future things. I would like to, at some point, remove my area and actually get into an official office. Right now, I'm in this little corner of the house, and it'd be nice to be in an office with the door and not have the laundry room behind me. But hey, you got to work with what you've got. You've seen my shoe rack, so you know I try my best.
I loved the I loved the lights over IP. I think that was, I want to say it was Tim's setup, but yeah, when in a meeting, or if you're in Zoom, there's the public site that you can take and change them and wait for it to go.
Every time I'm watching or I'm in a meeting with Tim who has these lights, I am probably the only one who does it religiously. I'm sitting in there, I'm like, I'm gonna write like a loop to just start changing them. And I'm like playing around, as I should probably be paying attention to the meeting, but I'm having fun with this lights in the background. Does anybody have any questions, comments?
Looks like Jacob wants to plan Catacoda from your place.
There you go. That's actually totally doable. Totally doable. But I love doing these things because really as I was growing up as a kid, I was grew up impoverished, and not trying to bring a downer on this, but to be able to build something like this and feel really proud about what I built as a kid who didn't come from anything, this means a lot to me. And to be able to share it is like a huge, it's nerve wracking. And I think before I was telling you, Jeremy, I'm like, I have so much anxiety right now, but I am so excited about doing this. And I always feel that before I do a stream. I'm like, why the hell did I decide to do this? And then I'm like, I love it. Let's do it again.
So when putting together your, when coming up from a shoe rack and a stack of O'Reilly books to the current setup, what was the hardest thing to get working?
Networking for me was a big thing in the beginning because I just was like using, our home network, and I was like, oh well, we'll just all use it, and first in, first out sort of thing. And that became problematic when the pandemic hit because the kids were at home, and you have two kids streaming. You have another child that's trying to watch, Netflix or whatever, and then you have your wife who's trying to get her yoga videos all queued up, and I'm sitting over here in a Zoom for work, and it's like, oh man. So that was really problematic, and I had to really, being that I was I say was a CCIE, I have a good insight into networking, but I hadn't really used it a lot, so I had to duff a lot of those cobwebs and mental cobwebs and start to refigure out how am I going to do QoS, how am I going to separate everything and make this really robust so that I can work and the kids are not hindered and we're not stepping on each other's QoS per se.
It seems so often that home is the last thing to get addressed. Like when someone says, like, well, a mechanic's selling their car, I'm sure they take great care of it.
No,
like, I'm sure everything is in perfect repair. Like, oh yeah, the problem with having a deep experience in something is just how far you can let it go before it catastrophically fails, as opposed to upgrading every piece that you wait well before it's needed.
I'm thinking about for anybody that follows me on Twitter, which is Marky Jackson 5. I love my gazebo. I have a gazebo out back, and I'm thinking about making a mini mobile office where I can just sort of do something in the gazebo. But the warmthness in California is getting a little too much, so stay inside where it's air conditioning, minus all of the studio lights burning me up in here.
Yeah, fall should be here soon enough, and you should be able to maybe throw some Wi-Fi out to the gazebo.
One of the things that I also have is some have seen is I have in our garage I have a workbench, and on the workbench I have a whole nother setup in there of Raspberry Pis and things like that I'll go out there and work, and that's sort of nice because you can go out there. I turn the music on. I've got a little fridge out there, and you just really can enjoy the work that you're doing. But when the heat sets in, it's like, yeah, forget it. It's a sauna in there.
That's a good one. Do you have all of your hardware connected to UPS, or
yes? If
not all of it, which pieces are most vital to have consistent power for?
I can handle. I have 4 nodes in my cluster. I can handle those nodes, all of them going down. I don't have a lot running inside the actual cluster. I can handle those going down and leave one up, and I'd be okay. So I don't put all of them on the UPS. I do put my MacBook as well as the Pi 400 because those are sort of my control. And with my Pinebook, which is where I've been doing a lot of my work from, and that's an ARM-based operating system running Manjaro. That actually is, I plug that directly into the wall and hope that I can withstand if there's a power outage. I can go back there and do the plug-in dance into the UPS.
Yeah, the MacBook is an interesting case. Sometimes I'll have desktops and sometimes I'll have laptops, but I suppose it's its own UPS. So you've got a battery plugged into the wall that's plugged into a computer with its own battery in it. That's then so you have 2 layers of UPS that you should be able to withstand. And then is the network also UPS, and so the router,
it has its own
everything
separate,
else back that
its
way.
own separate, yeah. And the Ubiquitous is its own separate. One of the things that I will say that I did not anticipate when I really started to build this out and had sort of an idea of what I was going to do was USB power. you have to think about that, because you can't just plug everything into a port that's non-powered, because things will not work. And I was like, why does this keep not working? And I'd unplug it and plug it back in. It would turn on for a second and then go. And I was like, what's going on? And then I realized, so there's a lot of trial and error. I also keep
How'd you solve then? What are you using for a USB
so
power?
I bought I can't really show it, but there I have a powered USB which plugs into it's right back here. This is a powered USB, so it has its own power. That is in the UPS as well, and that powers USB things. So it gives things like my Raspberry Pi power. That's an awesome thing. Uh, One of the other, I'm trying to think, there was another thing that I found that was really crazy that I had not anticipated, was storage. And so I was like, how am I going to figure storage? And so I was like, I found these really cheap, like 2 terabyte, drives. And I started building out these cheap little drives, and those are now my storage. So I can mount those anywhere in the house. So there's like an entertainment one, and then there's 3 up at my desk. And there's the regular storage, which is 8 gigs on all of the Pis, except for the 3rd gen one that I have. That's 4 gig. But I use these little, I kind of can show it to you right here. We're getting down in the weeds now. But the easiest one to pull off is this. And it's just a little thing that sits on most of the Pis that I can run storage on. These are Intel Nooks. Those are each have their own 1 terabyte drive on them, which is really nice. So it solves a lot of my problems.
What else we got? What's your what piece of hardware do you like playing with the most? The Pine bits, the Pis,
So I have ADHD, and I go through these really weird spurts of what I love the most. So there was a point where I was just all about Raspberry Pis. I absolutely loved working with those. My current addiction is the Pine. I love working on the Pine. That's just been absolutely fun for development. It is not like, for example, the Pinebook Pro that I'm using is not. I would not, if you're not a non-Linux user and don't understand it, I would not suggest doing this. This is for the true person who knows how to use Linux. And it's not super fast. It's 1 core, but it does what I need it to do, and that's what I like. What I've been trying to do is separate myself from the Apple ecosystem that I've so heavily invested in, including like Apple Watches and phones, and going with the Pine stuff. And big thanks to Gavin. Thank you, Gavin. He got me into the Pines, and I've been hooked ever since. And I'm actually super excited today because I wore an Apple Watch for many years. I've had every single version that came out. And as I'm trying to decouple myself from that system, I ordered a Pine Watch, and it's going to show up today. It wasn't supposed to be here till next week. And I'm like, God, I can't wait, because that's another thing I'm going to sit and geek out on all weekend.
That the Pine Watch I'm going to have to hear more about, because I was not aware. So alternative hardware is always interesting, especially when it's things that you can put together yourself, bits of it that you can build from open source and let other folks know what you're working on, as opposed to the having something that's only in the App Store. But
yeah, and closed source. Like I don't have the ability as a software developer. One of the neat things is that if I have an itch as a software developer, I can scratch it. I mean that's the way it is. So knowing that you have the flexibility with open hardware and open software to go ahead and do that, to me, that's super awesome. So very excited about that. And I can say some of the early things I've worked on the PinePhone Community Edition. I'm also waiting for the beta edition phone to come that I will be hopefully releasing. I've talked to some of the people in the ecosystem, and I was like, I got this really cool idea, and I'm hoping to be able to do that. I'm really also excited about the Pine keyboard for the PinePhone, which is a full functional keyboard, and it's a full Linux phone. So to be able to, run Linux commands and do all that crazy stuff from your phone is awesome. Yes, Android can do that, but there's still limitations. And the fact that I want to truly control my experience from beginning to end is why I chose to go with the Pine.
Are you able to, is that like a USB-C connector where you're able to just use any commodity keyboard for the phone?
Yeah, you can definitely do a USB-C, and that's what I've been using. But now they're going to have a docking station on a very much. So this is the Pine phone. It's running Manjaro. The Pine phone will actually have, for the USB-C, it'll have an external battery on it, and it'll be a folding. So it'll actually fold over there and it'll pop out. So it'll look like a little NES game. And I'm just like, man, that's awesome. I just love it. It's just fun. The thing about technology for me, especially writing software and all of these things, is most people know this, but I grew up in a boys' home, and my life was very controlled as a kid, right? As a boys' home, they control everything you do. Technology, especially computers, gave me this ability to control what I wanted. And that's what I think a lot of people, hobbyists and programmers that grew up through the ages, they identify with that. At least, and that's what means a lot to me, is that the ability to control something, to be able to write software for something.
And so what's next on the, I suppose, two fronts. What's next on the Homelab front, and what's next on the Tinkerbell front? On the Homelab front, there may be a moratorium on ordering, which is fine, on ordering new gear, which is fine. But even if that's a reconfiguration of existing hardware. Oh, did the network get you? Oh, there it is. There you are.
There's a lot of really fun things. Yeah, there we are. And a lot of refactoring going on. Jacob has done a lot. Team that have done a lot of cool work. Excited about on the Tinkerbell project. And this is bringing may have frozen.
I've got you back. Maybe.
There we go. Let's see if I cut a few things, if that works.
Yeah, possibly if you kill the old phone that's on as an additional guest, maybe. Yeah, the Homelab as ever is a work in progress, but that wherein lies its true beauty.
A little bit better. Try killing one more.
Still here, still there.
Sorry, apologize for that. Technical difficulties. Homelabs, they're a work in progress. I was saying on the Tinkerbell front, one of the things that I'm really excited about is not only the refactoring that's happening, and there's a lot of people involved. We need more people. So if you are looking for a project, please, tinkerbell.org. There's a Slack channel, and Jeremy will post all of those things. One of the things I'm really excited about is there's a proposal out there called Proposal Number 12, and this is to introduce an event system into the Tinkerbell. And I'm really excited about it. This was put forth by another community member, and I'm going to hopefully take that and start running with that. As far as the Homelab is concerned, the Homelab, what I'd like to do is I'd like to start getting a lot of the Raspberry Pis put in a nice rack, as well as the Nooks, make it look a little bit more presentable, maybe some better wiring, and maybe some better camera positioning for when I do things like this in the future.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Getting things into a always time to tidy up, and then maybe taking an eye towards making the cabling beautiful.
Yeah, right. Because if something goes wrong, I wouldn't even know. I'd have to trace cables, and that would just not be fun in the state that it's currently in.
There we go. Do you have compute modules on your purchase list?
Yes. I actually have a box in the garage that I have not opened up. That will be hopefully, I'd like to say this weekend, but it'll probably be next weekend that I actually get that going.
What role will that take on?
That's just for full compute. So you can one of the cool projects that's out there is you can put a camera to it, and it can identify images that come in front of the camera. That's one of the more widely examples for that. So I'm thinking about all kinds of cool little machine learning things that I can do. We'll see. We'll see.
Is there do you have a bill of materials up anywhere, or sort of
no, but I will make a commitment to get one up. I promise. I will get that up. I will put out what I have currently, as well as what my future state looks like. Give me a week, and I'll get that up for everybody.
Excellent. I mean, for the time being, taking a wander through your Twitter, just Marky Jackson 5 will probably be a good place to start. What else do we want to know? Compute module number 3 or number 4 or both?
4. I won't go with 3. One of the things that I will say is for anybody that's interested in this, or if you're even just, starting your own sort of home lab, or you want to find out more about Tinkerbell and talk to one of the maintainers, I am extremely approachable. You can find me on Twitter or the community Slack. Definitely just ping me, and I will help out any way I can. I believe that I heard something the other day, and I tweeted about it, and I truly believe this with all of my heart. When you climb, you lift, and yep, that wants to be lifted. So if there's anybody out there looking to get, by all means, hit me up. I will do everything in my power to get you squared away and on a path to making meaningful contributions to an open source project. And there's others as well. The Jenkins project, Kubernetes, the communities are very, very welcoming communities, guaranteed. And if you're going to be at KubeCon, please do not hesitate for a sticker or something. I won't show you right now, but I have a drawer full of stickers. And I mean, there's probably about, I would say, no less than 10,000 stickers in this drawer.
What else do we want to know? Good places to purchase hardware.
Yeah, Adaria Fruit. Adaria Fruit's a great place. You can purchase directly from Raspberry Pi. Hackster.io is another one. I purchased from Adaria Fruit. I really like the way they deliver stuff. It's super fast, and you don't have to pay an exorbitant amount of money to get things in a reasonable amount of time.
I find that they've done an excellent job with the media side of the business too. It's not just chucking a microcontroller over the fence and like, well, have fun storming the castle. There are projects. They're active in open source. There are, and I know, and I understand part of it is the selling more bits and pieces too. But you're like, okay, well, you have this. Here's how to Voltron sensors to it, cameras, cases. Here are other things that we've verified work well with this particular unit.
Yeah, Pine 64 also has boards, and that's probably where I'm going to be playing next and seeing what I can do. I've been watching people that have been doing reverse engineering of Wi-Fi modules, and I found that super, super exciting. So definitely look for something in the future for me on reverse engineering of things.
Excellent. I think we've made it to the tail end of question time. Emoji heart. Oh, love you too, Jacob.
Jacob, you're the best.
And was going to, well, what's the one more thing? What piece what have you had that didn't work? Whether that's either hardware failure or peripherals that just didn't serve you.
Yeah, so the KVM was the biggest issue for me. I got a 12-port KVM. I spent an ungodly amount of money on this KVM because I was like, oh, it's all going to work and it's going to be beautiful and I'll have 4K and I'm going to love it and, rainbows and unicorns. And that did not work. And I tried to get that to work for like a week and I wound up having to send it back because it didn't work. And then I went with the current KVMs that I have, which are just they're JID Tech, and they're like bare bones, basic, like 2-port. And I was like, I'm just going to do that. And that's why I have all of the keyboards. I would like to just have one mechanical keyboard running, but it wasn't in the cards for me. Maybe in the future. That'll be on my to-do list for sure.
Yeah, I have KVM woes and things that don't quite work at the desk, but I have been able to pare it down to a single keyboard, though sometimes it does involve the USB plug dance.
That must be a beautiful feeling to have one keyboard, because I can't tell you how many times I'm thinking I'm on one keyboard and I'm like, ah, man, what's wrong with this? I'm starting to unplug things and I realize I'm on the wrong keyboard. You go over here.
What does get me sometimes is it's a mechanical keyboard with QMK firmware, and so there's different layers, and so making sure that you're on the right layer, that you're not in a gaming layer or a weird symbols or number pad.
Hotkeys was another thing. Setting up hotkeys for me became a big deal because I didn't want to have to like move mouses, and I was like, I'd love to just have easy of use of a hotkey. So getting all of those set up and remembering what keyboard had what hotkey. So I have a page over here that has my hotkeys. I have to like literally look at. So it's not all roses, everyone. It's definitely, but it's fun. It keeps me entertained.
That's definitely a strength of keyboards that you can program, is instead of having your hotkeys defined on your various machines, if you're switching from machine to machine, having the behavior always be of the keyboard be the same. And so if there's hotkeys that you'd like to set, I try as much as possible to use the default ones for the OS and then rewrite the keys to where I want them to be on the
I spent quite a bit of time on the Kinesis for programming that, because I was like, this has to be perfect. You cannot have this perfect. You can't like just do that halfway.
All right, and then I'll go with last question. What is something that's not a piece of technology but is absolutely essential? And I suppose that's also not the stickers.
Yeah. So for me, an essential home lab, we'll just call it a home office thing, is having a guitar. That is a big thing for me, because it's nice when you just want to step away, or you're debugging something and you just need to take your mind off of something. I will bring my chair out and I will just start noodling on the guitar. And oftentimes I will be like, oh, that's right, I figured it out, and I'll put the guitar down. But that guitar is something that I always have with me.
Brings it right back MTV style. I'd watched a few of the old episodes, and there's a bunch of commonalities. And I mean, showing your cars is one of them, but the other one was folks having a piano in the house, and they'll always say, "Well, I don't play the piano, but I'll have friends over who play the piano." But there's room for a piano in the house, and so piano also was. Musicians will always have a studio. Oftentimes, folks will have a basketball court or whatever it was in the back of the house. If you're a skateboarder, you have a half pipe. But yeah, like having some of that crossover, work the different side of the brain, keep an instrument around. Yeah, that's excellent. Excellent advice.
And get yourself, if you're going to use a stand-up desk, invest the money and just get yourself a something for your feet, a mat that you can use and that you can move. So you'll see me. I kind of move around, and that's because I have an injury from being overseas that makes my legs hurt. So moving around is really nice for me. And some people think like, why are you shuffling over there? I'm like, yeah, I'm just working myself around my little mat.
Yeah, no, the being able to stand up and then dance a bit, or at the very least change position, has been useful. Yeah, I'd seen that you have some of the one of the mice anyway that you have KVM'd up is the little sideways guy instead of the makes the wrists really much less hurty.
Yes, I agree very, very much. Well, this has been awesome. Like, I am so thankful for this opportunity just to allow y'all to come into my little work area and see what I do. And like I said, if you have any questions or you're looking to get involved in open source, don't hesitate to reach out. I am a very collaborative, open, and empathetic person. Help any way that I possibly can. Yeah,
so track Marky down at Marky Jackson 5 on Twitter, the Tinkerbell team at tinkerbell.org, where there's links to GitHub, there's links to YouTube for deeper demos of more than just our desks and how we're getting things done. There's links to the Slack where you can have a chat with us, links to Twitter where you can be kept updated on both events and any Tinkerbell related news. And with that, I will bid you a good Friday, and thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you, everybody.